No playoffs for the Seahawks, Colts, or Cardinals this year, but there's reasons to be optimistic about the future. We'll tell you what those are today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much.
Joe, happy Tuesday. Happy New Year's Eve to you. Happy New Year's Eve to everyone. And after today, we look forward to talking to you all next year. Yuck, 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 yuck.
Oh, yeah,
couple Levy Grails to bring home the calendar year of 2024 for us here. Our first full calendar year of Locked On NFL Scouting now. Almost the 2-year anniversary of the show. But we started in March of 2023.
Wow.
So from January 1st to December 31st, this is the first year of this iteration of our joint programming together, which has been, this will be year 9 of podcasting together, I think.
Is it really that long?
2016, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we did. It's 2016. Yeah. Wow. Look at us, Kyle Krabs.
Look at us.
Look at us. Tim can't believe it.
Tim's been along for the ride and hated us every step of the way.
Every step of the way. 9 years.
9 years of vitriol and hate. But those of you who have been along for the ride, we're appreciative, obviously, for all of you and for Seahawks fans, Colts fans, and Cardinals fans in the midst of disappointing seasons. We got a little end-of-year gift for you here with some positivity, courtesy of our Levy Grails. And I stopped putting Levy Grail in the right-hand third because, Joe, there's probably Seahawks, Colts, and Cardinals fans who are finding us for the first time and have no idea about the Levy Grail. So why don't you tell everybody what the Levy Grail is, and then we'll get into our first team, the Seattle Seahawks.
The Levy Grail pays homage to Hall of Fame head coach Marv Levy, who coached the Bills to 4 consecutive Super Bowl losses. And the rallying cry was this excerpt from a Scottish ballad that says, "Fight on, my men. I'm hurt, but I'm not slain. I'll lay me down and bleed a while, and then I'll rise and fight again." And so no playoffs for the Seahawks, the Colts, or the Cardinals. We're going to tell you why you have to be optimistic about the future, and we will do so by only saying kind things about your football team. Seattle Seahawks up first.
So Seattle, 9 wins. That's a good start. This is 3 straight seasons with at least 9 wins for the Seattle Seahawks. And the fact that they achieved this in the midst of a regime change with Mike McDonald coming in, and you could tell some of the growing pains despite the fact that they started 3-0 and they kind of slide back around 500 and stabilize, and they make a little bit of a run, and we'll see if they can beat the Rams, who have clinched the NFC West, and get a 10th win, which would be their most since 2021? Is that an accurate state? 2020, when they went 12-4. It's the last time they won double-digit games. So I know nobody really likes that, hollow winning season without postseason success, and they haven't been to the divisional round since 2019. So I get that element exists with Seahawks fans who have enjoyed a really successful, really 2 decades. When you look at the playoff appearances and all the wins and the Super Bowl,
it's never been terrible, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like the worst record that you guys have had is a 4-12 in 08, a 5-11, and then you haven't won less than 7 games since 2009.
Yeah.
So I know you guys are hungry for all of this success that the last 20 years have afforded, but I think the fact that there's stability within the top of the organization with John Schneider and a new coach that's come in and put his impression on the team, and through 16 games, as long as you don't give up 60 points to the Rams, you're going to give up less points than what you did last year as a total across the entirety of the season. So I think that That's what Mike McDonald was brought in to do. And obviously he's got his fingerprints all over what the Seahawks defense looks like, who's top 10 in scoring defense right now.
Yeah. Top 10 scoring defense is a good start for this this regime. And I think one of the reasons I would be optimistic if I were a Seattle fan moving forward is that you have this foundational year for your coaching staff now behind you. And I don't think we talk enough about coach development. It was easy to talk about players and how they get better and improve. But Mike McDonald, as a 37-year-old head coach, I think he learned a lot of lessons this season. And when I think about watching Seattle through their troubling stretch, right, 3-0, and then they lost like 5 of 6. It was during that stretch where you kind of saw evolution, I think, from Mike McDonald. I think even from Ryan Grubb as your offensive coordinator, very unprecedented for a guy with no experience. For them to now have a year of experience, game planning, going through things, going through games and learning situational stuff, that's going to set them up a lot better for next year. So not only are you at least a decent team that's won at least 9 games this year, there's been a great opportunity to learn that's going to help you in the future with, in particular, what Mike McDonald and Ryan Grubb were able to gain from an experience perspective. Even Aiden Durde, the defensive coordinator, like big time background, like you felt like he's on a really big time path. A big year for him foundationally, and I think that'll set themselves up well for 2025.
Yeah, and I look at the personnel opportunities that exist, and specifically on offense for Seattle, where it's been most frustrating. Very easy to identify where this team needs to get better.
O-line.
Offensive line.
Yeah.
Draft all the offensive linemen.
Right.
Sign a few vets. But, the interior has been a point of contention. I know Christian Haynes, a third-round pick who hasn't really gotten a lot of playing time, and he's getting passed by undrafted free agents. But the guys who are supposed to be your pillar pieces on offense have all generally played well, but it's the rest of the infrastructure on that side of the ball. And you knew kind of the statement when they come out and their first draft pick is Byron Murphy, that they wanted to get some horses for Mike McDonald and the defense, and they've got some investment there. They have not been afraid of juggling personnel to get the right bodies in there in key spots. I think this is a great opportunity to bring the balance of the trenches for Seattle into the picture, so that to go with names like Leonard Williams and Boye Mafe and Jaron Reed, and obviously the first-round draft pick in Byron Murphy, who should be much better next year, having a year in his system, you can kind of get some of that same vibe going for your offensive side of the ball as well. Man,
is Leonard Williams ageless or what?
Yes.
This dude's just getting better and better. And you mentioned some of those young front seven players. Like, I would be excited about Boye Mafe and Derek Hall. I thought Derek Hall's had a really good second season. I love Byron Murphy. Devin Witherspoon is a kind of like a cornerstone player for your defense. And they obviously think very highly of Ernest Jones as well, as kind of, they went through that big time transition at linebacker. It's really been 2 huge transitions, whether it was kind of moving away from your starters in 2023 to like, okay, Jerome Baker, Tyrell Dodson. Okay, we quickly realized we don't want that. And now you've got Ernest Jones in the fray to kind of be that quarterback of your defense moving forward. They've certainly got some nucleus pieces on both sides of the football, even offensively. Jackson Smith and Jigba, big year. The running backs are both really good, and they have DK Metcalf. Like, there's not a lot of massive talent issues, right? It's defined, and I think most people will think pretty highly of Seattle and what they can be in 2025. Yeah. And then you get into some of the cap dynamics, and I know that they have some restrictive cap to start, but when you look at what 2026 looks like, you're going to get out of the finite resources type environment very quickly. Now this year there's extension opportunities with guys like Geno and Tyler Lockett, although I'd probably look to move Tyler if I could. A team that would be bringing Tyler Lockett on would be acquiring a 1-year, $17 million cash spend. If you can move him in a contract year as a 33-year-old wide receiver that's got a almost $31 million cap hit right now in the books. DK Metcalf's got $18 million in base salary at his disposal.
that you can restructure and continue to expand that out and get you through the 2025 year to add some key pieces. You have other guys with big base salaries in Draymond Jones and Leonard Williams and Uchenna Nwosu, and those guys are all at least like $15 million a piece. Noah Fant has a lot of restructure or extendability with what he's in an 8.5, or you could potentially move on and save $9 million there if you wanted to. So a lot of the big cap hits that they have extension opportunity, exit ramp opportunities with a lot of savings. It's not like a lot of these teams that have restructured guys 3 years running, and you're really not going to save yourself all that much because there's prorated dollars down the road that get pushed up if you move on from a guy.
Seattle's going to be all right. We've had some hard conversations in the Levy Grail. This one wasn't hard of them. All right, Indianapolis Colts. This is our Colts. This is our team.
We
talking
love
about you next. Unlocked on NFL Scouting. Stick with us. Folks, you got to check out Rocket Money. They can help you find subscriptions that maybe you didn't even realize that you had. You're paying for them twice, not using them at all. Rocket Money makes it super easy to track that down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. In fact, Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. It brings it all together in one place on the app. And whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to have this year, Rocket Money makes it easy to kind of track all of that. They have over 5 million users. It's saved over $500 million in canceled subscriptions with Rocket Money. And members that use all the premium features save up to $740 per year. So check it out. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions. Help set up your future. Monitor your goals. Monitor your spending with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon.
The Colts, our next team. And there's one thing you can always be rest assured about the Indianapolis Colts. They're not going to have a lot of prorated dollars.
Right.
Because Chris Ballard loves him some cap space and loves him some rollover cap. Now, I don't know if you caught this, but Albert Breer yesterday was on the Rich Eisen show. Did you catch this by chance?
No, I don't know this. So
he was asked about job security of prominent figures in different franchises across the league as the year comes to a close. And he mentioned Chris Ballard as one of 2 general managers where he believes the coach is safe, but the general manager may be in position to experience a change. So if you're a Colts fan who looks at the body of work of Chris Ballard and has some frustrations with, like we just joked about, like they don't like to prorate a bunch of money and they love retaining cap space and having fluidity in that way, and maybe sometimes at the expense of maximizing a roster. It sounds like it is at least under consideration that you may have some new brain trust in there to kind of help decide the best path to build a roster out.
It's interesting. Again, we can only say positive things here, so I'm not going to expand too much on that. Dude, there's a lot that I like. What
change might be good.
Change might be good. I like this team in the trenches. And that's an important place to be, especially this offensive line. I think Bernard Raymond has developed into a good left tackle. They got a good right tackle in Braden Smith. Quentin Nelson's a dude at guard. And then they've had the opportunity this year through some injuries to have some younger players play. Tanner Bortolini has played a good amount at center. I've been impressed with him. Young player out of Wisconsin. I mean, between Joe Tippmann and Tanner Bortolini, they've put a couple of nice young offensive linemen into the league. Dalton Tucker is like where did he come from? It's like Marshall, UDFA, has come in and played and developed as a reasonable depth player. Mark Lewinsky is a draft pick, or not Mark Lewinsky, Matt Gonclaves as a draft pick has shown versatility at left and right tackle. So like your offensive line is good. You have a nice little developing pipeline there as well. But I like your defensive front seven as well. Buckner, Stewart, Leatu Latu are all good players. Deo Adeyembo is a nice player. Kwity Paye, Tyquan Lewis. It's like Zaire Franklin's become a good linebacker. EJ Speed. there's a really nice foundation of front seven players, defensively and with the offensive line, that I think there's a lot to get into with the other positions, but I really just feel like that's a good, strong nucleus that I think has helped overcome some issues in the secondary, that's overcome some quarterback stuff. You can win in the trenches, you got a chance, and I think that's been at the forefront of why the Colts have been at least a reasonable team here the last couple of years under Shane Steichen.
Joe, if we could combine the Seattle Seahawks and the Indianapolis Colts,
heck of a team.
We'd have a heck of a team, huh? Because the trenches was on my list as well for Indianapolis. It's obviously been where this team has been so strongly rooted in their continued commitments, and you could tell the belief and the ideology there. I think the fact that you have, for the Colts, a little bit more of a clear idea of what and who Anthony Richardson is a great thing. Because this time last year, what did we really know about Anthony Richardson?
He's an under-repped quarterback.
Right. He got some reps this year.
Yeah.
And there's obviously tools to work with. There's obviously a ton of growth potential, and having some stability with a coach, if it does exist with Shane Steichen, and understanding who your quarterback is and understanding what kind of pieces need to be put around beyond just the offensive line and the running game. And Michael Pittman's going to be a starter no matter what. And Alec Pierce has kind of been unlocked, but what else can you do to try to pull and maximize out the best of Anthony Richardson? I think having clarity there is one of the biggest things for me with the Colts to be excited about. If you're a Colts fan, regardless of what the outcome ultimately is, at least there's tangible reps to work with here, and not just invisible reps at practice that you don't see, that you're trying to, as a fan, figure out what this needs to look like.
I think there's a lot to be excited about for the Colts when it comes to playing in the AFC South. I just don't feel like there's a world beater in this division. I mean, Tennessee feels like they've got a lot of work to do. They don't have a quarterback. Jacksonville seems like they're going to reset a lot of that operation. And Houston's like the upstart team, but they don't feel like world beaters. They need to grow and evolve. They're weak on the offensive line. CJ Stroud has got to continue to develop. Questions at receiver. In terms of, Diggs, is he back? Probably not. He's off of an ACL, big injury to Tank Dell. There's questions, right? I think they can get better on the interior defensive line. So I think that this division there's nobody with a death grip on it at all. And I think that as you build upon your trenches, as you kind of continue to develop Anthony Richardson, you're going to be in good shape. And one thing that I really do like about this roster, I know I talked about the trenches, but I like this receiving core. I think Pittman's a dude. Downs has really come along for them as kind of their slot player. Pierce is like this down the field guy that works for this offense. And he's not a player that you want to funnel a ton of targets to. But then watching A.D. Mitchell play this year, I've been really impressed. I know there's not a lot of volume there to him, but if you watch the route runner and the skill set, he looks like he can be an answer. And you have Jonathan Taylor. Like, I think for the Colts, more than anything, it's in the margins over what you don't have in your operation.
So you think this team can easily get better just by refining what it is that they do?
I think their defense is disappointing. I think they got to get better in the secondary. And I worry about some of the leadership, which is not a small thing. But there's enough likable components to what they have talent-wise that makes me feel like they're not far away.
I dig it.
And, I think you're going into this next season with Anthony Richardson, and it's a big year for him. But he has gained experience, and I think he does have what he needs around him to be successful, which is kind of where you want to be probably in year 3 of a early first-round quarterback.
Yeah, in an open division.
In an open division.
No doubt. Couple balls bounce the right way for you. You're talking home playoff games or home playoff game at minimum, and then what happens from there?
Yeah. So that's the Colts. We got the Arizona Cardinals on the other side of it, folks. Be sure to stick with us.
It's the second time in a row, second show in a row. We have a a single bumper and an automatic double bumper if we don't have any reads. And for the second consecutive show with no read in the second break, I had to manually click the single bumper twice because I forgot to click the double bumper.
Hey, Kyle, just embrace a growth mindset.
I'll get them next time.
Hopefully we don't have many of those opportunities left.
Next year, I'll figure that out.
You know what we're doing for New Year's Eve, if I may?
Nothing. It sounds amazing.
Basically, I have a 4-year-old. She turns 5 next month. She's in dance class, right? She loves her dance class. She has lots of little friends in her dance class, and my wife and I have become friends with those families. And one of the friends in the group, their grandparents own a restaurant. It's a pizza restaurant. It's good. I really enjoy it.
Is it Alice's restaurant?
I don't know. You could say the name of it, and I couldn't tell you. And I'm sure there's a joke there that I completely missed based on your reaction. Alice's restaurant.
You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. It plays on Thanksgiving on the radio every year.
No clue what that's about.
Oh man, let me know in the comments if you guys have heard Alice's restaurant or not.
And the point is, we're going at like 5:00 for this gathering, and we're lying to our kids. We're going to stage a ball drop. We're going to these 4 and 5-year-olds. We're lying to them saying that it's going to be Happy New Year, and we're going to stage the New Year, and it's going to be like 6 p.m.
That's fun.
I feel somewhat wrong about it, but
no, it'll be fun.
Yeah, sure. Okay, Cardinals.
Big step forward this year. I think this is a team, and I say this with love, but I kind of felt like in some ways this team overachieved this year, just because you knew with the rebuild that was necessary coming off of Steve Keim and his efforts with the team, to Monte Ossenfort and all of the youth that came in and all of the draft picks, you looked at the roster and said, there's a lot here we don't know how it's going to turn out, because there's a lot of unproven talent or a lot of guys that haven't had a lot of opportunities in the league. And for them to play a lot of competitive ball this year, I mean, they were in the division race until week 15. Week 6 was week 16 when they formally got eliminated. Like they played a lot of mathematically relevant football for a division championship in year 2 under Jonathan Gannon. And that in and of itself, while maintaining the identity that they had as a football team last year when they were kind of like a tough out but scrappy underdogs that didn't have a lot of talent. Well, now the talent in some places is starting to show up. And that allowed them, I think, to have a very competitive season, even if it didn't end the way that anybody wanted it to.
Yeah, I agree. I think when Monte Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon stepped into this opportunity, they had a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Steve Keim, man, just really rough there for multiple years. I thought Monte did a really good job of maximizing his opportunity to like build assets to build with, right? There's been some trades that have happened that have really helped stockpile this operation with good young players, and it's about continuing to add. This is always a situation that I thought it would take a little bit of time, and I would agree with you, Kyle. And maybe that's disrespectful, but I think this team is better this year than I thought they would be. And there's some nice things going on with the skill players. I mean, Trey McBride's becoming one of the best tight ends in the league. James Conner, obviously a staple here for this backfield. Marvin Harrison, I mean, he's only going to get better, right? I think there was some efficiency stuff with him and Kyler that needs to be improved upon, but the talent level there is quite obvious.
Yeah,
they got some pieces on this offensive line. It's just, hey, you're still building. You got assets. You know, they're going to be picking. They got the probably mid-first round pick that they're going to be staring at. They've got a ton of cap space. You know, they're going to be pushing $100 million in cap space. Like, keep building.
Yeah, I think the thing that really stings for Arizona is you were 6-4 going into your bye, and then you have been 1-5 since, and that includes a 1-point loss to Minnesota, and that includes an overtime loss to Carolina, and it includes a loss to the Rams this past week where you had a chance to complete a ball in the final minute of regulation and win the game, right? Or win the game. So some near misses, and especially with a 6-4 record and looking at the games left to play, it's like, man, we got the Panthers, we got the Patriots, we got 2 games against Seattle. Like, let's see what we can do. And the only game that you've won out of the bye has been the Patriots game. So I know it probably stings a little bit more as a Cardinals fan to reflect on 6-4 to 7-9. And I think that the turnovers kind of tells the story, where they were pretty judicious protecting the ball with the exception of the Packers game in the first 8 weeks of the season. And they turned the ball over. They got turnovers in each of the first 7 games that they played. And defensively, since week 7, they have 4 turnovers on defense.
I don't take away. Yeah.
And they've had 2 turnovers in each or 4 of the last 5 games offensively that they've played. So it's all like the things that you would expect are going to be deciding factors in games down the stretch, as I think this season caught up to them a little bit. That's where the margins have fallen apart in what was a competitive season for Arizona. But I'm glad you mentioned Trey McBride and obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. with the potential that he's shown and leading this team in touchdown catches. And James Conner can still play at a high level, and it's very much within their identity of what they are. I think they're a team that mirrors a lot of Seattle with get better in the trenches. And if you get better in the trenches, and I think get better in the trenches on both sides of the ball, I think this is a team that should have reasonable expectations for a competitive year in 2025.
I think they've already claimed a dub with this Budda Baker contract extension.
Yeah.
I mean, that felt super team friendly. 3-year, $54 million deal comes in an average annual salary of $18 million, which, Kyle, I was stunned when that deal came through. I mean, that's less than like what Minka got. It's much less than what Winfield got, and this is still a young player, dude. He's 28. This deal signs him through 2027, and they have a very reasonable out of the deal after 2026. It's kind of like the heartbeat of your operation. I thought they got a heck of a bargain with that contract extension, and it preserves, a good safety tandem in him and Jalen Thompson there.
Well, and people forget, we had requested the trade and everything.
Yeah, dude, it's been an absolute journey, right?
You assumed that this was done and that we were going to play it out here and then we're going to move on. And then the season that they were able to have as far as showing a direction and something that gets buy-in from Budda, I think is a great endorsement of the pathway that this team is on.
Yeah, so he comes in with this new deal. 4th in APY. He get less than Derwin and Minka signed those deals in 2022.
Yeah. Budda did, who was real mad about the Budda Baker contract? Every other safety that's a decent starter that's getting ready.
Kirby Joseph, right?
Andre Sisco, Javon Holland, all those guys, Trayvon Moehrig, all those guys have been looking at the safety market saying, hey, I wonder if this is the numbers are going to keep going up after Winfield Jr. signed his deal. Nope. Right. Budda came in and kind of cut the value out there at the knee. So it'll be really fascinating to see how that impacts the safety market. But obviously being first and striking first is great for Arizona, and they're going to reap the benefits of that with that contract.
And I mean, Arizona does have, I already mentioned, $100 million in cap space. Just keep building. You got a young team. You've probably overachieved. You have you have Kyler. So you like him or not, you're not finding a quarterback. Maybe there's a divisional conversation to be had here. 49ers feel like they're kind of resetting the deck a little bit. The Rams, how much further are they going to go with Stafford as a older quarterback? I think they're going to be okay. So, and your uniforms aren't as bad as they looked when they debuted them as well. Let me say that.
Right. That's right.
I hated them when they did the debut, and I watched them, and I'm like, there's not too bad. Not too bad.
So let me ask you this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that is every team that's been mathematically eliminated thus far, we have done.
Yep.
So let me ask you this. Of all of the teams that we have done, which one, and you can only pick one, do you want to plant your flag in the ground for to say they will be a playoff team in 2025? We will not do a Levy Grail for this team next year.
San Francisco.
I don't know. I don't know. I might take the Colts.
I thought about Dallas as well.
I thought about Dallas too. The fringe, the teams we're waiting for are teams like Cincinnati, who's not eliminated yet, and Miami, who's not eliminated. Like that's a pretty good chance those are two of the three that we do next week for the last round of this. And that's where I thought it'd be fun to ask that question before that happened.
Yeah. So next week we have either Tampa or Atlanta, so probably Atlanta, and then two of the three between Denver, Miami, and Cincinnati.
Yeah. Low-key, Seattle's not a bad choice for like we won't do this team next year too.
I agree.
So there you go. That's going to do it for us here on Locked on NFL Scouting on Tuesday, New Year's Eve, December 31st. Kyle Krabs, Joe Marino, we appreciate you guys as always for checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day. We're out of here, and we will talk to you all again tomorrow.